So it's been a while, but welcome back to Legends of Evil, where I talk about villains outside of comic books, and today I'm going to be talking about another Godzilla villain, and this time around I'm going to be talking about Megalon. Now, Megalon is not like I would call a A-list Godzilla villain. He's not really considered a A-list Godzilla villain. He's more in the B tier, if at all. Now, Megalon has really only had, well, I guess you could say technically two. He did make a cameo, if I recall right, in Final Wars. I think it either he was in there, it was just brief, or B, that scene was cut out. Either way, the only real film he had any major star power in was, of course, Godzilla vs. Megalon. Now, what's interesting about Megalon is that he's one of the few Godzilla villains who isn't a cosmic threat. He is straight from Earth, or better put, below it. He is worshipped as a god by a race of beings called the Cetopians. And the Cetopians sent Megalon out to do battle with mankind after some nuclear tests kind of made them flip their shit. Which, in humanity's defense, they didn't know that the Cetopians were there, but rather than be like, hey, can you cut this shit out? They're like, nope, send Megalon. Now, Megalon, like I said, is worshipped as a deity by the Cetopians, similar to how Mothra is worshipped by the people of Infant Island as a goddess. Which is interesting because in none of the Godzilla medium, whether it be, in some form of the comics, I always kind of wanted Megalon and Mothra to throw down. That would have been a cool fight to see Megalon and Mothra do battle. Because they're both worshipped as gods, and they're both massive insects. I'm surprised no one really thought, in the comics or anything, to have Megalon and Mothra do battle in some capacity. But I digress. So, Megalon is a giant cockroach with drills on his hands. And among his abilities, he's capable of flight. He's also capable of drilling through solid metal with his drills. He can open his mouth and shoot bombs out of it. And of course, he can shoot a electrical beam that is similar to Ghidorah's gravity beams, which obviously, that's how they use the stock footage from Ghidorah and got away with it. But yeah, he's capable of shooting bioelectrical beams from his horn on the top of his head. Now, you'd think Megalon would be a powerhouse with all of these abilities. He is as dumb as a pile of hammers. No, that's an insult. He is dumb. He is probably one of the dumbest. And I'm saying like he has a stupid design. I actually like Megalon's design. I'm just saying he is dumb. He is not the head of the class. Let's say that. And that always perplexed me as a character. Megalon is this moron is pretty much a mega moron, but he's worshipped as a god. I guess maybe he's just big. I guess that's the only requirement for the Cetopians to have a god, is just, Megalon's just big. It's kind of like the tallest with Invader Zim. But Megalon is incredibly durable. What he makes up for lack of intelligence, he makes up for just sheer firepower, as well as incredible durability. But he also doesn't know the word stop. He really doesn't quite grasp the concept of cut your losses. Because even when after Gigan abandoned him to Godzilla and Jet Jaguar, he still had a little more fight until he was like, oh, I'm outclassed, I gotta go. So that was the whole thing, is that Megalon doesn't really understand the concept of cut your losses. Now, since then, Megalon really didn't get a lot of screen time. He was supposed to be in Godzilla Final Wars, and as well as, I believe he made a cameo appearance, I think he made an appearance in the book, Godzilla Planet of Monsters, which, by the way, the novel of Planet of Monsters, better than the entire trilogy. The entire Godzilla anime trilogy, fuck that series, but read the book. Read the prequel book. It's actually really good. If you want to see some legit monster fights like you were hoping for in the Godzilla anime, go read the prequel novel. It's actually, they do some cool stuff, even with Zilla. But anyway, so Megalon hasn't really gotten a lot of screen time. The only other major appearance Megalon's ever really had in terms of star power was in a scene in the past where Megalon awoke in Godzilla Rulers of Earth to do battle with King Caesar. And the battle was so intense between Megalon and Caesar was that it it drove the other kaiju insane in the past and caused an apocalypse that caused all the other kaiju to go to sleep. And while King Caesar returned to fight the alien threat, I forget their names, but if you read the comic, you know what I'm talking about in Rulers of Earth. But the point being is that while King Caesar returned, Megalon did not. Megalon did not show up in the final comic. And again, he hasn't really gotten a lot of mention here and there in the comics. He did make some appearances here and there in some of the other, like miniseries and maybe a cameo here and there in the ongoings. But Megalon never really had a starring role. He was never like, oh, here comes Megalon. That was never the case with him. Which I understand. In a weird way, I understand. But Megalon does have some serious potential as like a fun B-tier villain. It'd be kind of like if you had Megalon recurring more. It'd be kind of like he's like a fun Spider-Man villain. Like he's not like this globe-destroying world-destroying monster. He lives on the world, so he just wants to destroy mankind. He's not interested in blowing up the world like Gigan or Ghidorah. He's more like Electro or Captain Cold if we were to compare villains. He's more like that, where he's more like he would be fun as like the occasional threat Godzilla or any of the good kaiju would encounter. That's how I kind of see Megalon if we could utilize him more. Or at least that's how I'd utilize him. As like a fun, like, oh, here comes Megalon again. Let's fight him until he runs away. That's how I would utilize him. And again, he's one of the few Godzilla villains who isn't from space. He's one of the non-extraterrestrial kaiju who is a villain. And while he does have some power to him, not the brightest bulb in the room. Let's leave it at that. But yeah. So you guys tell me in the comments below, what do you guys think of Megalon? Do you guys like him, hate him? Comment below, let me know. And once again, I hope you all enjoyed this, and I will see you guys later.